World War II feels settled, but some of its biggest moments still aren't. Historians don't fully agree on what ended the war, who was responsible, or even how some events should be understood. And the deeper you look, the less clear it becomes. In August 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan surrendered days later. But was it necessary? One view says yes. Japan hadn't surrendered despite heavy bombing and blockades. An invasion could have cost hundreds of thousands of lives. From this perspective, the bombs ended the war quickly and saved lives overall. Another view disagrees. Japan was already collapsing and may have surrendered if the emperor was allowed to remain. Some argue the Soviet Union's entry into the war mattered more. Others say the bombs also served as a signal to the Soviets. Then there's a middle position. The bombs weren't strictly necessary, but they accelerated the end. Not one reason, but several, all at once. Just days later, everything shifted again. On August 9th, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan and invaded Manchuria. So what actually forced Japan to surrender? Some point to the atomic bombs. The scale of destruction was unlike anything before. For them, this shock broke Japan's resistance. Others point to the Soviet invasion. Japan had hoped to use the Soviets to negotiate better terms. That option disappeared overnight, and with it, the fear of Soviet occupation grew. A third view combines both. Japan was already under pressure, blockades, firebombing, a collapsing position. The bombs showed overwhelming power. The Soviets removed any remaining options. Together, they made surrender unavoidable. Not all disputes from World War II are about strategy. Some are about memory and how countries choose to move forward. The Comfort Women system refers to women from Korea, China, and other occupied regions who were brought to military-run or military-regulated brothels during the war. Historians debate how this system operated, including the level of coercion, the role of private recruiters, and how directly the Japanese military was involved. But beyond the historical debate, there is also a modern political reality. Japan has already addressed this issue through past agreements. In 1965, Japan and South Korea normalized relations with financial settlements intended to resolve claims from the colonial period. Then, in 2015, the two governments reached another agreement where Japan expressed apologies and provided support for surviving victims, with both sides stating the issue would be considered resolved. From this perspective, the issue is not ongoing, but part of history. The focus now, supporters argue, should be on honoring past commitments and moving forward. Others believe the issue is not fully settled and should continue to be addressed publicly. But in recent years, there has been growing emphasis on strengthening cooperation, especially between Japan, South Korea, and the United States. In a region facing rising security challenges, many argue that looking forward, not backward, is essential. In March 1945, US forces launched a massive firebombing raid on Tokyo. The attack destroyed large parts of the city and caused enormous civilian casualties. But like the atomic bombings, this raises a difficult question. Was it justified? One view argues it was a necessary part of total war. Japan's cities were deeply tied to its war production, and targeting them was seen as a way to weaken the country quickly. Another view sees it differently. Critics argue the scale of destruction, especially against civilians, raises serious moral questions. They see it as an example of how far wartime strategy can go. There isn't a simple answer. Like many events in World War II, it depends on whether you see it as military necessity or something else. So, what do these debates really show? Not that history is unknown, but that it isn't always simple. The same events can mean different things, depending on how they are understood. And even now, decades later, those interpretations are still being argued, because history isn't just about what happened, it's about who explains it and how. Subscribe and join us for the next story, because history is never just in the past, it shapes the world we're living in right now.